Hello there, I hope you are doing well. Today I am attempting another voiceover, which I haven't done since my Nostalgiathon vlog, which was the first video that I ever posted. I figured that with the new year, I really wanted to try and step outside of my comfort zone, and filming voiceovers was a good first step, I guess. For today's video, I wanted to share 7 books from my physical shelves that I would like to read in 2021. I actually compiled a blog post of 10 books, so if you're interested in that list, I will link it in the description box. But as I was compiling that list for my blog, I realized that there were still a lot of books that I really wanted to read this year, books that have been sitting on my shelves for ages, so I thought I'd compile them into a little video and test out my voiceover abilities once again. I am just setting up the backdrop for this video. I wanted to make it all pretty and aesthetic. In hindsight, I probably should have placed my camera at a different angle than what I ended up doing, because my body was pretzeled in the weirdest ways to try and get everything in frame. But hopefully this video is interesting, let me know, and we're just gonna jump into it. Hopefully all goes well. So the first book that I have on my list is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is a reread for me. I actually read the series back in sophomore or junior year of high school, and I loved the books. They were so much fun. I'm actually hoping to also start his Stormlight Archives in 2021, so I figured it might be good to go back and reread the original Mistborn trilogy, since they're all part of his bigger Cosmere universe. It's just been so long. I've been a little scared to go back and read this trilogy, just because in general my reading tastes have changed a little bit, and I'm just scared that books that I considered favorites when I was in high school might not hold up. But I have some pretty good faith in Brandon Sanderson as a writer, so I'm really hoping that this is one that will continue to stay on my favorites list. The next book that I have is Finding Your Element by Ken Robinson. This has been a book that's been on my shelves for a really long time. I originally bought it as supplemental research material for my AP English class for a presentation that we were doing, and I ended up never reading it. I figured this would be a good book to pick up since I am a recent college grad, and it's all about finding your passions and inspiration and exploring creativity, so I figured that might be an interesting one to explore. The next book I have is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is one that I've heard non-stop praise about on social media, especially leading up to the release of the last book in the trilogy in 2020. I picked this up because of the hype, but I've been holding off on it because I wanted to also just kind of binge the entire trilogy, and the last book doesn't come out in paperback until this year. But now that the release date has finally been announced, I think I will get started on this series. I've heard a lot of people cry about it, so mentally bracing myself for some trauma, but hopefully it'll be good. The next book I have is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is another book that I picked up because so many people on social media were saying amazing things about it. I actually originally started this book in September of last year for Shalea's Keeping Up with the Calls read-along, but at the same time I was also rereading The Dragon Republic and then jumping into The Burning God. So I was just an emotional wreck and ended up deciding that one Asian-inspired story that was going to traumatize me was enough for 1 year, so I ended up putting this down, and I definitely want to jump back into it this year, especially with the final book coming out. The next book that I have is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is one of 3 copies, but it was, in my opinion, the prettiest, so I'm going to use it in the video. Crime and Punishment is one of my favorite classics that I read in high school, and I have actually only read it once. So I figured I would attempt and try to reread it now that it's been a couple of years and kind of see if I still end up loving it as much as I did the first time around. The next book that I have is The Bone Witch by Rin Chupeco. If you follow me on my blog, you will know how much I adore this book, and surprisingly I have never read The Bone Witch physically. The first time I read this book was an e-arc that I got from NetGalley, and then the second time I listened to it on audiobook in preparation for The Heart Forger, and I ended up buying a copy at BookCon that same year. I think it's 2017 or 2018, I forget, but I've never read the physical copy, so I figured it would be nice to dive back into one of my favorite books, see my favorite characters all over again, and just experience everything again. I'm honestly just super excited to go on this adventure with all of them and just experience everything. I just adore this series so much. If you haven't picked it up yet, I highly recommend it. The last book that I have is The Wolf and the Whale by Jordana Max Brodsky. This is a book that I saw on Instagram a couple years ago, and for some reason the synopsis back then just really interested me, so when I saw it at my local bookstore, I just picked it up, and it's been sitting on my shelves for the past 2 years. I originally wanted to read this last year, but didn't end up getting around to it since I fell into a pretty big reading slump in December, but hopefully I'll be able to get to this in 2021. So those are all the books that I have on the list. Let me know if you've read any of them and what your thoughts are. Let me know if this voiceover is as bad as I think it is or if it's passable. But thank you so much for watching this video. Please continue to stay safe and well, and I'll see you in my next one.